Hi there, I'm Timothy Linsdau. I'm a video producer and a Christian, and I'm interested in science and objects that they produce. And today I want to talk about the amazing space pen. Okay, there's an urban myth out there about the Fisher space pen. And the myth has been that during the 60s, NASA spent millions of dollars to develop a pen that would write in space. It makes for a fun story, but it's not actually what happened. The space programs, including the Russians, Americans and Russians, are trying to figure out what they could do to write in space. Now, this is their I don't know about special, but this is their bullet model. You can see it basically folds up in a sense. Comes apart, and you put the blank in, and you got a regular size pen. And then you also have a little pocket clip that stays on here, and a little rubber O-ring that keeps this part from falling off, so it's kind of snug. I don't know about making it waterproof, if that even matters. As I'll show you later, that it can write underwater. That it can write upside down like this, because most all other ballpoint pens require gravity to function. This one does not, because it's under pressure. Let me see if I can quickly get to the ink cartridge inside. As you can see, it's threaded, it's well constructed. Here's the ink cartridge. It is actually pressurized with nitrogen, and it forces the ink against the writing ball. And it's kind of a gel. You can't see it, but that's what's in here. And the moment you move the ball, it turns it to liquid to run out on the ball. It's kind of fascinating if you think about it. But the space programs had started out, some used felt pens, grease pens, pencils, but all of them posed a danger inside the vacuum and oxygen-rich atmospheres that were inside the capsules. So they had to come up with something that would be safer and function in the worst of conditions. The pen also writes in, I believe it's 30 to 50 below zero, up to 400 degrees. The only thing I read is that at 400 degrees, it can, the blue ink turn, not blue, well, it might be blue. This one's black. I think you have a choice, blue or black. But the blue ink will turn green. That might be a little weird. But anyway, NASA had made some failures on a couple of different things. Originally, they tried pencils, but then the graphite is dangerous. It can be flammable in an oxygen-rich atmosphere. Pieces and parts, you got wood, graphite, eraser material, all could get loose in the capsule. When they have their helmets off, they could breathe this stuff in. It could get onto the electrical contacts. There's all kinds of stuff that can happen. I got to be real careful about that as to what can happen inside a space capsule. So, in fact, NASA came up with 34 mechanical pencils from Houston's Tycam Engineering Manufacturing in '65, and they paid about $4,300 for them, which is $128 per pencil. And that's probably where some of that myth of all the money they spent on the pen. But they didn't. That's the interesting part about it. Fisher of Fisher Pens came up with the idea, Paul C. Fisher. They put $1 million at the time in the 60s, that would have been quite a bit of money, into developing the space pen. And it's that cartridge inside that I showed you is where the real value of the pen is. Because if you go on Amazon and look up Fisher Space Pen, you'll come up with a lot of different pens, like a standard ballpoint click pen, different colors, shapes, this bullet variety they have in brass, colors. You can get them monogrammed, all kinds of things. They're not outrageously expensive, anywhere from $15, $25, something like that. And actually on the cartridge that I showed you, there's an address and a place to send for a new cartridge when the one runs out. And I've had this for years and years and years before that cartridge finally ran out. And it wasn't completely out, but the value of this pen is that it's always available and always works. How many times I have been places where I didn't have a regular pen, but I always have this in my pocket. And that's the point to me of this bullet pen. If you want to always have a pen, and the best pen you can buy, I like the bullet one. Drops easily into your pocket. I carry a card wallet. You can slip it in there. I would recommend some way to, either in a card wallet or something, because it is small, and if you have the slightest small hole in your pocket, it'll go right down that hole probably. I know because that happened to me. So try to find some way to attach it, but it's so small you can carry it in your pocket easily, and you always have it. And this thing is durable. I mean, it's a piece of work as far as the metal goes. It's not going to bend or break, and it's always there. It's always available. That's what I really like about it. It's how many times somebody says, "Hey, you got a pen?" "Oh yeah, you got to see my space pen." "Did you know how much NASA spent?" No, it was Paul C. Fisher, the owner of the company, that came up with the idea of a pressurized ink canister to be able to write in space. So it can write upside down, doesn't need gravity. It can write underwater. It can write at extreme temperatures and altitudes because it's pressurized with nitrogen, which is kind of interesting. So I'll cut here, and I'll go show you writing underwater. I don't have any waterproof paper, but I do have some index cards that are pretty firm, so they'll hold up underwater long enough to show you it writes. And we'll check the smear proofness of it, that type of thing, show that it writes upside down. I could put it in the freezer and freeze it to show you that it would work. There's no way for me to prove that it was in the freezer except showing you I was putting it in there and taking it out. But I suppose I could do that. But mainly I want to show you it does write underwater. So it could be in almost any weather condition imaginable on Earth, and this thing would still work, and including in space. And they do use it. NASA and Russia do use the space pen. It works for them every time, and it's safe. That's probably what's most important. It's a safe writing instrument. Again, it doesn't rely on gravity to flow. It has nitrogen at 35 pounds per square inch, just for you techies. Pressure pushes the ink toward the tungsten carbide ball tip, and that's why it always works. And the ink too differs from other pens. As I said, it's a gel-like material that dissolves when the ballpoint turns it into a fluid. So it's a fascinating story, this pen, but what's fascinating to me is I always have it, and it always worked. So I'll cut out of here and show you a couple of things to show you how amazing it really is. Okay, here we are. Got to my bathroom sink. I want to give you a good look at the space pen. Little pocket clip, how it goes together. Call it the bullet version or something like that. The neat part is, like I said, you can carry it in your pocket or your satchel, your purse, really easily. Right now I want to show you how it works in adverse conditions. So I'm going to get me an index card, standard index card, nothing unusual. I'm going to point the camera in different directions so you can see what's going on. And hopefully I can see what's going on. Okay, here we go. So we're upside down. You can see that it's writing. Upside down. Because remember that pen's under pressure. So that has no effect on the pen. You can see it works. So, okay, I'm going to do one underwater now. Now the what am I trying to say here? Now this is regular index paper, so it's not waterproof at all, but I want to use something a little heavier, because if I use just basic notebook paper, as soon as it goes in the water, it's just going to shred. So this will work. But should have gotten this water filled up earlier for you. So I want to process through this. But this will show you really quick. Again, you know, works fine that direction. Okay, I'm going to aim this camera down in here so you can see this. Might be a little clumsy, but we'll get it worked out. Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. It's going to be underwater. You can see that it's water, right? Okay, put the paper down in there. Here we go. Writing underwater. All right. You can see that's underwater. Let me get squared away here. And not much smearing, if any at all. Let me move the camera back a little bit so I can see what's going on here. So you can see it's written underwater, and it doesn't smear hardly at all, which is pretty amazing. You would get some, because this is basic paper. If you had more like expedition paper that you can use in wet conditions. Let me get back to where I was here. All right, so you can see it. You can write underwater. And of course, you'd be able to write in rain. It's pressurized, so you can use it in low pressure. It did say something about being at 13,000 feet. It would work up to that. I would think it would be higher if you were using it in space, but probably not in a complete vacuum of space. But you can see it writes upside down, writes in water. If I were to put it in a freezer and get it out, it would still write. So there you are. I'm going to get back to my screen, so hang on. Back in my office now after you've seen the amazing Fisher Space Pen. Put it back together, show you how nice and small it is. Now you've seen that it can write upside down, it can write underwater, and you'll have to believe me that it could write under frigid 50 below zero or 400 degrees above. So an amazing pen, an amazing tool. And they come in all kinds of colors and shapes, which is neat. I love the small one because I always have it wherever I'm at. I'm the guy that shows up at the meeting with a pen. All right. Hey, I'm Timothy Linsdau. Like and comment on my videos. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.